right. Welcome to today's episode of the Becoming CTO Secrets video podcast. I am excited to introduce Stanislav Synko, who is a tech entrepreneur whose journey began as a coding enthusiast in Ukraine and led him to become the CEO and co-founder of LF1 in the United States. At LF1, Stanislav invests in and provides strategic support to early stage startups, fueling innovation and technological advancement. And beyond his entrepreneurial ventures, Stan is a passionate speaker sharing his insights at universities, tech events, and conferences. He also lends his expertise as a judge at pitch competitions. And adding to his list of accomplishments, he is the author of the book Simple, Custom, Wild, designed to guide non-technical startup founders in building successful tech products. So join us today as we dive deep into a conversation with Stanislav Synko and explore his remarkable journey and vision for the future. Stan, I am very happy that you joined my invitation. Welcome to the show.
No, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Very well. So you have had an impressive journey from coder to CEO, actually. Can you walk us through very briefly through your transition from a technical role into like a C-suite leadership role? So what were some key challenges along the way? We are very excited to hear.
Yeah, my transition was impulsive. I became a CEO when I was 22. It was a very sudden transition. I didn't plan it so much. So I started coding when I was 13, participating in Olympiads at school. I was very fortunate to go to gymnasium in my little city in northeast of Ukraine. And by the time I joined college, I was capable junior engineer. So studying was not so fun for me. I quit. I quit university, or it quit me. I don't know. I started. I think formal education is great. Listen, I was too young to understand it, and so I started working. I joined a couple great companies to work as software engineers. And at the age of 17, so at 22, I already had 5 years of experience. I was an average developer back then. And just one day I woke up like, I have to start a business. Let's go. Nothing romantic, really. It was dumb,
Amazing.
Impulsive decision.
Still very amazing. I mean, and now you are more in an executive role. I don't know how. Are you still coding from time to time? Are you hands-on involved in software development at some point in time?
Yes. Weekly, not daily, but weekly. I do code. Right now, it's a great time to be alive as an engineer. You know, so much innovation happening in different areas. It's beautiful. So yes, I think staying practical and code every around then is valuable. But answering also your question, the transition was impulsive. So for someone who is looking to transition from coding job to C-level job, I would recommend doing it first in the same organization if you have chance, right? Because starting something new for me was also combined with taking some risks. And if organization provides that coaching, training, also peer system, right, where you can test yourself, you can challenge yourself and try to have more responsibility, but without much risk, I would prefer that 10 times more than starting something on your own and taking all the risks in the world, you know.
So would you consider yourself a risk taker by definition? And was it always the case, or was it something you developed into?
I learned to be. So first it was impulsive, and then it's just a necessity running a company. But with a service, so it started as a service business, right? And service business, it has low startup costs. So most of the risk was I had a family to feed, you know, and I quit my job, started business which I didn't know will succeed, and also didn't know much about the job itself. I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. So, and any C level really, it's different set of responsibilities and functions. You have to think differently and be less practical and more strategic, if you will. And I didn't have that skill totally. So our company in the beginning was carried by industry. Industry was growing like crazy, especially in Ukraine. They started in Ukraine 2022. So software engineering as a service, outsourcing, right, um, was was awesome back then, and it was carried until a certain point.
Very well. I mean, you were skipping some usual steps in a typical software engineering career, right? You were going straight for the C-level roles and building your own business. But there are also a lot of the people who are listening into the podcast. They are maybe some of them would also become CTO or CEO one day. For those aspiring CTOs, so what are the most important technical but also leadership skills they need to develop early in their careers? And yeah, how do you compare to how you were doing it?
I think the most important for CTO, someone who is becoming a CTO from engineering uh, skill, is being passionate and genuinely interested in technology and its advancements. You have to love it. I think you have to be excited about what's happening in the industry, what technology is doing for our world, and believe it's bringing more good in future. I mean, it sounds a little romantic, but what comes from it is following not just trends, but deep understanding of how technology works in your domain. Because CTO in a vacuum is too abstract, right? You have to be strategic about domain you're working in and know trends, know what competitors are doing in terms of technological innovation in your industry. You need to understand how to build products, how to maintain them, how to build a team around it, what technologies to use, how to manage budgets, and all that comes from genuine understanding and love to what technology brings to every business.
But not only, right? It's not only about technology. You mentioned a couple of things like how to build engineering teams, and there is a lot of stuff around engineering teams that also needs to work so that they are able to deliver a successful product, right? And I think from my perspective and from what I learned from engineers who are thinking about becoming a CTO, they are sometimes forgetting about this part, and they think more about, hey, I need to learn more programming languages. So I need to understand more software development paradigms before I can actually become a CTO. But CTO is also a business function, so they need to think also about some more aspects around, from management to bridge building, whatever.
I totally agree. I mean, there's so many tech responsibilities and CTO responsibilities they would have to acquire and learn and maintain and be on top of. Um, and it's changing all the time as well. Like security, cat and mouse game, right? I mean, it's developing all the time. New threats come up and new ways to manage threats as well. But it's coming again. I think it's coming from love of technology world and passion. Partially because when you hire a team, you would hire like-minded people. You would look for that in your at least leadership. Not everyone has to be, super passionate and brilliant in what they do. Some people approach it as a job, as a gig, and maybe temporary, etc. But you would look for similar similar attitude in your team, and you would foster it. So culture of innovation and love for innovation has to be there. That's why I'm pressing on that. But you're absolutely right. There is so many different areas CTOs have to be responsible for, like budgets. How budgets is connected to love and passion. But you want to sustain your business. You want your team to be effective and competitive, and you want to win as a tech product. If you're a CTO of a tech product, you want it to succeed, and that can be tied to investing, and that's how it is to investment money and budgets you get from your limited runway, and you want that to be all working together as an organism. So to be a good CTO has to come from love and passion.
That's true. That's true. But still, I mean, many technical professionals, they are maybe they are passionate and they still want to become like a strategic decision maker at some point. They're still struggling with the shift from hands-on coding to this strategic decision making. And you mentioned already some things they need to keep in mind, like, okay, how to build like a real team, how to hire the right people. But is there any advice you would give those people? So they are facing like the same challenge. It's like this kind of managing this transition from coder to decision maker.
Absolutely, it has to be slower than what I did just immediately in one day. It has to be thought on, and also you have to learn about yourself a lot. So when you do it slower, you would acquire more responsible roles than just coding. Let's say team lead or engineering manager or project manager, technical project manager, or architect. And it can go in, transitions can be smoother. And if smooth transition happens, you have a chance to learn yourself how you like it. What is about strategic job you like? What is that you don't like? What skills you have which can be applied effectively? And something you can also work on. Maybe you can do some training. Maybe you can adjust your role responsibilities and work with management to actually fit what you like and prefer about the job more, and what
Mm.
is making the most impact for a product. Because CTOs in vacuum, again, they do not exist. They exist in application to a problem, to a product, to a company, to a structure. So finding your way and what makes you a good engineer and strategic engineer and CTO is crucial. So taking it slowly, trying different things, learning about yourself, learning about what you're good at, what skills you are excel at, working on that, and then eventually, through multiple stages, that's how I would do it, and this is
Yeah,
how I
that's
see people are in our company are excelling.
yeah,
Um,
I fully agree. I mean, I also see that you, I think you cannot start leading people without fully understanding yourself, right? Your weak spots, your blind spots, maybe what the things you are good at. So the more you understand your own character and your own the different aspects of who you are, the better you are equipped for understanding others and leading others, right? And this is what I also hear when you speak.
no, absolutely. And the people component is in my opinion most amazing component of all, because you get to work with brilliant engineers and also challenge yourself and your team and let other people grow. That's most fun part for me is to watch people grow and using their potential to the fullest. That's most fun job for me. Um, for other people, it can be again technological excellence. It can be technological advancement and maybe pushing innovation to the edge, to the good edge, to the not edge of the cliff.
True, yes. Um, I mean, was there anyone out there while you were making this shift from coder to executive? Was there anyone out there who was supporting you, who was mentoring you, who was coaching you, or taking your hand sometimes, helping you to like to not jump from the cliff?
This is a brilliant question. I don't have a great answer. In my case, no. I'm very stubborn and I don't take coaching very well. I hope this is to change someday. Uh, but having a mentor and having maybe a group of mentors and community is what I saw have a very good effect. So if you have some organization. That's why I mentioned if you can do it in an organization, because organization will likely to help you find someone inside to help you with transition, someone who has done it before, someone who has went through this process in the same organization, again, in application to some problem, system, or product, or a company, right? Which would drive you through the change. So I think your question is spot on. Having mentorship and guidance is fantastic. I didn't have that luxury.
Yeah, me neither. So I needed to learn everything by myself through books, through practice, trying things out left and right, making failures left and right. But it's also like it works, right? So mentors are helpful, but you don't always have a mentor. I mean, how is it for you at the moment? You are also working with coders, with engineers. Do you actively practice being a mentor for them, or are they so brilliant that they grow by themselves and you can just watch and smile and be happy about it?
I'm not the best developer in my company anymore. Those days are over like 5 years ago. That's over, unfortunately. But we have engineers who mentor others, and I have opportunity to foster that culture. For example, with knowledge transfers, we have this fun at least monthly event where someone has to do a presentation for a whole company, company level and team level, of what's new, what they're using. So people would share their tools, their approaches, their strategies, also some, well, not coding skills, but something special they find about engineering process or about their work, which improves performance. That's one. That's something we can foster. Also assigning mentors, you mentioned that as well. If you have a good skill mix inside the team, that would just appear naturally. So if you have more senior developers and some, let's say, junior ones joining the team, they would get and seek advice more actively, or more experienced peers would teach someone who just joined. Because, again, if they are excited about the product, they love innovation, they love what they're working on, they would want that to be effective and process to be spot on what product needs. So that thing would appear by itself. So that's
You
cool.
said something very
That's cool to see.
beautiful. You said something very beautiful because you mentioned that you realized you are not the best coder anymore in the company, which is something a lot of people are stumbling upon, right? So a lot of CTOs, they still want to be the best engineer in the company, and that might work to some degree until the company reaches a certain level of growth. And it would make like those CTOs to a bottleneck, right? So was this something you were actually growing into, and this was like you realizing this along the way, or was this like a harsh truth you were like faced with at some point when you were trying to outcompete some of your coders, and they were better than you actually?
This is such a good question. It touches on ego as well. You
Yes.
know, when we just started the company and we have been delivering first couple of projects, I took pride of being the best engineer, but also being most knowledgeable about what's going on in the project, what's going on with architecture, with, let's say, deployments, with cloud architecture and database design and whatnot. And I took deep pride when there is an issue on production and no one knows how to solve it. I would open my terminal and my screen session and fix it in 2 minutes. But later, it resulted in a system which I fostered and created with this behavior, that no one could fix production issues quickly, and that's a problem. So, and the problem is not me, or is not that we need to find capable engineer doing that, but building a framework around solving urgent issues and building responsibility framework inside the company, where it's not personal. It's about us delivering the best service we can. And it's not just one superstar who knows everything has to be there. it's about, okay, what is the process if we have production issue, and who is, not who, but how system handles responsibility for fixing that issue. And it resulted in multiple people being responsible at all the time, but also them taking ownership. So earlier it would be just me who would be taking ownership of any production issues or any critical issues. And now it's a group responsibility. It sounds bad, I know. Group responsibility is always bad, but in a system we would have 2, 3, 4 engineers who can do that, and they would actually know that they are responsible and own
A
the
group, a
problem.
group responsibility could also be like there is a process which is helping people to solve a certain issue. For example, if there is an outage in production, so there is a process which helps them to understand what they need to do, who they need to contact, and who is responsible at this very moment in time, right? Because yes, we cannot be all responsible for everything all together. Responsibility also needs some ownership, but yeah, there can also be processes which are helping people, right?
Yep,
That's what you mean.
that's what I mean by group.
Yeah.
Because group responsibility, if group is responsible, no one is responsible. But so if group has the process behind it, that becomes much easier. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how important is it like for a CTO or like a very skilled technical CEO to stay hands-on with technology versus focusing on broader business strategy? So what's your personal approach to balancing these responsibilities?
So for my company, we are always have to stay on top of what's going on in the industry. What's happening with innovation? What's pushing the innovation? A couple of years ago, it was blockchain. 5 years ago, right? And you can look at blockchain as, oh, this new fake technology or whatever, hyped, etc., etc. But many companies actually use use this hype to innovate, to think in new ways about their business. I'm not saying blockchain has a lot of application, practical application, but it sparked the innovation thinking um, among a lot of companies. And same thing happening today with AI. People start to think, all right, what can I do better and how can I innovate with this new technology in my business? What it means for my business to implement it. And as a CTO, I think we have to pay attention not only to hypes, but overall what is happening uh, in general, but also in your domain. Let's say you're running a healthcare company. You need to be deeply involved in innovation in healthcare tech. What
Mhm.
systems people are implementing on admin level, ERP level, let's say also on innovation level. What technologies your competitors use to differentiate themselves? What technologies are defensible? What are more commoditized? What is IP which you can create as unique? What others creating? What is patentable? What is unique and defensible as well? Um, what is commoditized? Um, by commoditized, I mean, what is something you can pay to license, which will not make your company unique, but you can still use it to advantage and improve efficiency, operational efficiency, etc. And what is something you need to be focusing innovation-wise and create something which is unique? Because if you mix the two, right? If you mix the innovation and commodity, you can spend a lot of money on commodity and
Mhm.
finding out you can license or white label some solution for a couple grand a month versus actually focusing on something which will make your company important. So staying hands-on and understanding those aspects are crucial, and no other way to do it other than staying hands-on. Just spending time to not only read stuff, but hey, play around with new AI models and see what you can automate and what you can integrate in your business. Again, this is tip of the iceberg. For different domains, it would be different solutions and different innovation uh, areas, but CTOs have no choice. They have to do it. And I'm coming back to my first statement about love and passion. It will be much easier to do if you love this stuff.
Absolutely. And do you also see this like for enterprise CTOs, like much broader organizations, maybe having thousands of engineers? Would you still expect them to be hands-on, or I mean, would it be more natural that they are operating on a way more strategic level and they are thinking about technology has nothing to do with hands-on coding anymore?
I don't know. I have not been at the enterprise level. I just saw this in our clients. One of our clients is Custom Inc. Um, and yes, it's very different. But I think CTOs on even on that level have to be dangerous enough to know what is to distinguish bullshit with
Absolutely.
from real stuff, so that you wouldn't spend millions building some AI chatbot with a team of 20 people.
I mean, as a CTO, you still need to be able to ask the right questions and to understand if someone in the meeting is bullshitting you about technology. So if you have this kind of sensor in your mind that you're still capable to be part of those discussions, I think then even in a very big corporation, and you can still be like a CTO and less hands-on than a CTO in a startup. I think that's also natural that you have different types of CTOs in different stages of a company, right? From startup to scale up to enterprise. And yeah, that's my take on this.
Spot on.
All right, should we talk a bit about your book, Simple Custom Wild?
Oh yeah, I have it here. I would use all the chance to talk about it for sure.
Me
Here you go.
too, and
Oh,
thank you for sending me one copy. It was great
yes.
reading it. And yeah, you talk about categorizing startup ideas into three tech approaches. So could you share how this framework helps CEOs or even CTOs or founders make better decisions early in the development process?
Yeah, this book is for founders mainly, technical and non-technical. It's useful to think about startup when it's to think in using this framework in a startup when you're building something new. And so through my journey with entrepreneurs, they all ask the same questions when it comes to technology. What technologies to use? Do I hire a CTO? What CTO should I hire? What engineers do I need? What team structure looking like? What is my technical strategy? What is my execution budget or technical budget looks like? And so those questions are similar, but the answers are different for virtually every company, every startup, right? But I learned they, those startups, when it comes to those technology answers, are not so different between each other. I put them in just three categories. And for those three categories, those answers are pretty much similar. So if I put them in three buckets, for each bucket, we would get the same answers about CTO, about the team, about the process, what should be applied to the startup, etc. So three buckets is simple, custom, and wild bucket. Simple bucket, if founder can virtually do the technology piece themselves, using no code, using some WordPress framework or similar, right? Or Squarespace or Wix, you name it. Using some no code tool, they can put up the prototype. For this type of companies, you don't need a CTO. You're good on your own, or maybe hiring some high level help, some technical help, and just going with this. You don't need a CTO. If you hire a CTO for a simple product, you're screwed. You're wasting a lot of time, money, and probably equity. So simple products, examples could be media startups, is a very good example. Brick and mortar, which involves brick and mortar, physical stuff you don't need. It's not a tech company yet, or will be. Um, those are examples. For custom is when you need to write a custom piece of software, is where no white labeling will save your day. And in this stage, in custom software stage, you would need the attention of someone with CTO expertise. It doesn't mean you would need them full time, because in most cases, in early days, no companies need a CTO full time, unless you're building something wild, which is next category. Okay, so custom, you already need some CTO attention, and you can acquire it through different ways. It can be fractional CTO. You can hire a dev team or dev shop to build the product for you. You can hire already an engineer who can grow into a CTO role later. And in the book, I talk about how to find those brilliant minds. And that's basically options, but you don't need CTO full time for this category. And then most of the book is about custom products and custom software. So then I talk about what's responsibilities CTOs should have, how to, again, hire one, what to look at, what criteria if you're hiring an engineer, what criteria to look at, etc. What is the process after hiring CTO, their responsibilities, what they have to be doing day to day, and what is needed, what is not needed. I mentioned there is no full-time job, but let's say once a quarter you would have to review your technical strategy for your product, and someone has to pay some attention to it. Again, no full-time job for this, but it has to be a responsibility of some entity or individual for that to be covered. And wild, it's when you're building something truly innovative and not just applying innovation to existing business models, but building some new business models, new engineering and products which are truly unique and at the level of invention. And for that, you would need a CTO full-time. Your CTO and your team is basically your product. And their brilliance is directly influences how the product will succeed or fail. So for that, I talk on high level about AI and push for innovation and blockchain and how it's similar and how it's different and what is coming next. But very high level. Some much smarter people know what's coming next. Are there like the latest book by Ray from Google about singularity. I just got it. I had to read it. It's on my
that
table.
was the one I recommended you, right? When we
Yes,
had the conversation 2 weeks ago.
I got it in the mail.
Okay,
already
great.
Got it.
Enjoy the read. So have you seen some common tech strategy mistakes, like, and what are those that like those CTOs should avoid when actually starting within your product?
Yes, absolutely. CTOs or CEOs?
I mean, could be like a CEO who makes a decision, like if he needs a CTO, or the CTO who was hired by a CEO of a technical company.
Oh man, the whole book is about those mistakes and how to avoid them. I mean, there are so many. Starting with, for example, hiring full-time CTO when you don't need one,
Right.
or not hiring a CTO when you also need one. For example, for wild category, when you're building truly invention level technology, you cannot hire an agency to do it. I saw examples, and we had dozens of requests in past to build something new. I would say this one is not talk a lot, but you cannot hire an agency to invent stuff for you.
True.
Invention is an art, and while agencies is art by itself, they are not equipped to invent stuff. Agencies are equipped to apply existing technologies into your product, build products with existing technologies. I emphasize that so much. So unless you have a leadership internally which can invent stuff, invent your product, invent what you have in mind, unless you have that, no one else can do it. No one else other than who you have in your team internally. So that's one strategy mistake. The other one is hiring CTO, full-time CTO, when you don't need one. So for custom products, in the beginning, if you hire a CTO full-time, they will be an engineer full-time, likely. They will not be doing, CTO responsibilities all day long, because while that list of responsibilities is big, for capable CTO, it would take maybe a week, a quarter to come up with decent strategy and review it again, maybe couple couple practical hours a quarter, it would require different skill set and thinking, but practically full-time means they will have to do something during their workday, and that ends up probably coding. So hiring a CTO from a big corporation or a bigger startup to be a CTO full-time, unless they are down to do some practical work, like it can be infrastructure, it can be cloud, it can be DevOps and coding and maybe some technical automated tests and QA. That's good, but unless they're doing something practical, they're wasting a company's time and usually equity, right? CTOs is a
Yes.
partner position, which would require you to, as a founder, give some equity to a CTO,
But
and
only in
so
startups, right? Only in startup, it's
in
an
startups,
equity. Yeah.
yes. My book is mostly about startups. So yes, those two strategies, disastrous. Another one, I will touch this one, and that would be good. So for simple products, mixing those buckets. So approaching a simple product as a custom product. If your product can pay some company to white label their solution for a couple $1,000 a month, and you start building custom product, you're probably wasting time and money because it will not be defensible at the end of the day. All the software which you just built, you could have licensed for a couple grand a month, and it has practically, again, no value other than more than what you can pay that white label company.
Yeah.
So approaching simple products, not researching first what could be bought and used from existing solutions, and just uh, building it from scratch is also a strategy which should be avoided when possible.
As executives and leaders in tech, we always need to balance between innovation and the best technical solution and practicality, right? Or workarounds, or however you're calling it. So in the technology choices. So what is your advice for people in tech, being it aspiring CTOs or CEOs from startups, when it comes to managing those balances?
Can you repeat your question, please?
So it's about innovate. Usually, we need to manage between innovation and practicality,
Okay.
right? Sometimes you have to make some shortcuts. You need to find some workarounds. So you cannot always innovate, or you cannot always strive for the best technical solution, and you need to make some compromises. So how do you
It's
balance this?
it's such a tight balance right there, but over engineering is something to avoid 100%, in as a CTO, but also as a founder. You need to be cautious about over engineering is a thing, and engineers like engineering, and you as a business owner, you like shit to get done, and so um, having that balance, as long as you trust your CTO, and trust is a thing as well, right?
Were
Between
you
the
prone?
business
Were
and
you actually prone to over engineering?
I want to say no, but of course yes, yes, absolutely. Engineers like to engineer. Listen, not to there is one way to make disastrous mistakes in over engineering is to, as a CTO, but also as a business owner, is to pick exotic technologies. That
Mm.
stuff sinks companies. I saw this happen. I mean, just a little tiny over engineering here and there, as long as strategy is solid, is fine, and you can, you know, adjust it on the fly on during the product life cycle. But if you pick exotic technologies just for the sake of experimentation, and just because your CTO wrote an article about how these new programming languages uh, are awesome and they will take over the world, and now you don't have engineers on the job market to hire because not so many people read that article. I mean, that's a problem. So
True.
the exaggerated case of over engineering is using exotic technologies which do not fit overall strategy and puts you at risk of not finding talent, or talent can be very expensive or very unique. etc. So that over engineering aspect is definitely dangerous,
True.
notably
And when you're
dangerous.
operating at the edge of technology, like in this wild category that you described, then you might need to work with those like exotic technologies because maybe there is no other way around.
Spot on, spot on. And also, by design, wild category already has the scarcity of talent. So regardless, you will have it. So those technologies better to be useful.
In our previous conversation, we also like talked a bit about AI. How has AI influenced your role, and how do you see AI shaping the future of tech leadership
It is
in
changing so
general?
quickly. It is changing so quickly, and it will be changing so quickly. There is no plateau yet, so no one knows where it's going. Okay, this will be a little crazy, but I'll tell you what I think, okay? My prediction on AI.
Go
My
ahead.
prediction on AI. Um, I think it will continue to rapidly improve, and we will see updates on how we use LLMs. So right now we just use prompts, right? We put in prompt, we get the result. Imagine there is 100 LLMs behind your question. By 100, I mean uh, you spike level of creativity for each LLM, and you let them run in parallel, 100 of them. And so you get 100 responses, and then you get 20 best, and then 10 best, and then one best response. That's already improvement in the performance of LLMs, right? But then imagine you would get that level of improvement uh, as an uh, uh, as an agent. Okay, so let me elaborate. You ask this question, and it will employ the structure of existing big corporation, which would have that level of intelligence capability of being creative, picking the best answers, and also collaborate and have short-term memory, long-term memory. It will have context about the company. It will have organizational framework, so it will be able to communicate between itself and also use the hierarchy and management frameworks we already have in bigger companies. So I know it sounds a little crazy, but agent swarms, I think, will be end game for every innovation system which will be applicable. And so it will replace development, engineering, management, practically all virtual intelligence requiring tasks where cost of intelligence will be going down to zero. And even answering an email, you can assign that task, let's say, to 1,000 people, which are very well organized in this agent swarm, and they will craft you the perfect email. But again, this is very trivial example. The more strategic example would be, hey, I'm running this company, do it for me, and you would get 24/7 a swarm of robots um, running your company and building the best possible um, version of it. So the question is, in this, if this is true, right? If cost of intelligence going down to zero, and many people said that, it's not my phrase. Cost of intelligence is going to zero, and it can be deployed at scale. What is left from the engineering job? I think integration and application will be the most practical and viable option. So in the world where there is no software developers, there are no QA engineers, project managers, there will be a job for applying the technology innovation, which can be again in form of AI swarms or any other intelligence deployed at scale to existing supply chains, and I think that is something which we will all experience very soon in a couple of years. So staying on top of the game is a must. It's a fantastic time to be alive, and it's really exciting to see those technologies improve. It's a little scary though, but I'll skip that to
So
another
do you
podcast.
see like a very apocalyptic end for all soft developers out there, or is there any chance for them to stay
No,
alive, so to say, and to
I
be in
think
a business?
I think the amount of work will be exponentially more than what it is right now, because uh, push for innovation. If AI is push for innovation, this agentic framework deployed at scale will be even more viable push for innovation because it will be applicable and more applicable, and amount of, again, application will be just tremendously bigger than what it is, because right now AI can be integrated by pretty innovative companies who knows the power of automation, who can apply the power of automation, and with more robust systems, again deployed at scale, they're more will be more universal. So any flower shop could use such technology if applied well. And but yeah, I don't want to think beyond that, because that is it's kind of type of situation.
I'm always so in the last days and weeks, I talked to a couple of people about the possibilities of AI, how it will like shape the future of software development and product development in general. I also made a very provocative post on LinkedIn, so a lot of people, a lot of developers actually didn't like it. That was going a bit more into your direction, what you just said. On the other hand, I talked to a friend of mine who said we might over like we have too high expectations on what AI could actually do. Do you also see this to some degree that we are having too high expectations here, or is it like are we
I think
still
yeah,
underestimating what AI could be potentially capable?
I think we have low expectations, to be honest. Um, we cannot grasp a scale yet of how effective it would be, but my intuition tells me we underestimate it, because uh, we just invented the form of intelligence and reasoning, um, other than human. I mean, some animals are also very smart, but this thing can be deployed and multiplied at scale, which we don't have as humans right now. We are pretty fixed at population, and this one we can not only create billions of it, maybe trillions. I don't know. I think we
And
are
what
underestimating it. Yeah.
and as AI obviously becomes more prevalent, what new challenges and opportunities do you see for CTOs, also for developers, when it comes to integrating AI into companies' product and tech stack?
That's an opportunity. Stay on top of the game. I say stay updated. What's going on, especially agentic frameworks. My personal take on this is the next big thing, and we will be deploying that thing at scale at companies very soon, using companies' knowledge, uh, data lake, and existing tools. It will be able to do magic, which is exciting.
How do you see like or foresee the AI changing the skill sets required for a CTO and the tech team over the next, let's say, 5 years? So how big will be the advancement in the very near future? And I mean, or in the scenario that you described earlier, when will this happen? Like in 10 years from now or even earlier?
My intuition tells me CTO job will become less complex, I think, because again, if intelligence is driving, uh, intelligence cost goes to zero, a lot of CTO job and integrator job, it will do itself, and integrators will be left with pretty straightforward ways to integrate it. That's my intuition. So if the system is very advanced, it will take care of most of the integration job itself. But applying it to real world, to real teams, real people, real people systems and supply chains will be hard. I don't know why, but it will be hard because people don't like change so much. You know why? You know what? So I don't know. Maybe it will be a people job after all. I don't know.
I
Hard
mean,
to
it could
tell.
also be that the role of a CTO will become more important than ever before because there is so much more to coordinate between different business functions between marketing, sales, business side, tech, product. Of course, there are certain things that an AI will be capable of doing, and where the craft of a developer will be replaced. But maybe the whole communication and collaboration part between humans and bridging this gap, this might be still a very, very important part of a CTO role, even in 10 years from now.
Bridging the gap between humans and technology. I like that. I like that thought of yours. I love it.
Thanks a
I
lot.
can relate. Listen, it's a lot to navigate and manage, and gap is huge. So, and CTOs right now do it every day, right? So, if you're a developer, become a people person. Take away.
Yes, absolutely, 100% agree. And the very last question for today, do you have a principle in mind, like a principle in business and life that you would like to share with us? Something that guides
Yes.
you or pushes you or drives you?
Yes. So I will share one question I ask on every interview. This is my thing. I have been using it for 10 years now. I just ask one question on last stage of interview, is how can we make our company the best version of a company you've worked at? How can we be the best employer ever? How can we be that dream company you ever participated in and was a member of? And that drives us to become better. I take ideas from every interview like that. How can we make our team, our company, the best version? And for me as well, it's true. So I answer that question all the time, and you can hear all kinds of cool answers as well. It's very non-standard question, so this is something practical for you. Ask that.
Always
You
striving for
will, yeah.
excellence. But I mean, after asking this question, like let's say dozens of times, are you really getting new answers every time or something
It's really rare,
meaningful?
but really rare. But uh, I'm every time I'm getting unique answers for that specific person. So it's less about ideas for what I should be doing. Sometimes, right? But in most of the time, all the time, it's about the person who is in front of you. And it helps to learn more about the person. It helps to learn sincerely uh, what drives them, what can we do to be using their realizing their own potential, help them to become the best version of themselves. That's what that question is about as well, right? I mean, you can say that.
Excellent last words. Stan, thank you very much for taking the time
Philip,
today. It was a great conversation. So we tackled a lot of topics from leadership to your book, to the framework that your book applies, and also the advancements of AI. So thanks for being part of the show.
no, Philip, pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.